Well, Vanessa Newman is the former official representative for former Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido to the UK and Ireland. She's also the founder of Asymmetrica, a political risk research and strategic communications firm. She joins us from Madrid now. Welcome to Al Jazeera. So what do you make of these events which have been reported over the last few minutes?
Well, it's typically Venezuelan in that it's terribly confusing, right? It's a bit Kafkaesque. So we know for certain that her cavalcade was sort of fired on, and she was coming and going on a motorcycle to make herself visible to her supporters. She had indeed been in hiding and in protection and had lost quite a lot of weight, if you can see, you know, her more recent appearance in that time and under duress from the stress of being in hiding. So today's reappearance was something that she had called upon for a global movement for all capitals, including Madrid, Barcelona, and Valencia, just to where I am right now in Spain, and all other capitals, to call for the peaceful installation of Edmundo González, who really, by all accounts, won the elections in last July in a 2-to-1 landslide. And those elections, by the way, those votes are now being held by the government of Panama.
Let me ask you, though, of course, Nicolas Maduro will disagree with this. I mean, what's his strategy here? Will this mark a pivotal moment for him?
Well, it's a delicate game to play, and it's unsure who exactly is playing what game. I mean, this is Venezuela. Everything about Venezuela is a little bit through the looking glass, right? So they know that they can't really arrest Maria Corina Machado because she's so loved domestically and internationally and respected and protected by the Americans and the Brits and others, that they think that arresting her would really be too much of a risk. But there are factions within the regime, some who think, you know, just be done with it and arrest her. What are we dealing with her? I mean, they have arrested, you know, the son-in-law of Edmundo González, who was the guy who won the election, sort of really Maria Corina Machado's proxy, arrested him yesterday. And they also arrested another friend of mine called Jesus Armas, and they were all done in very much the same way that the arrest of the detainment of Maria Corina Machado was done today. Some unknown people on motorcycles with balaclavas, and no identification. So they did not identify themselves as the regime. But the other two that were taken in a similar way in the last couple of weeks were identified as having been taken by the regime. The question is whether there's a faction within the regime who saw fit to sort of arrest her, follow those orders, and then disobey those orders, and then say, well, actually, we also support Maria Corina Machado.
OK, well, let me just jump in there, if I may, then. What about Venezuela's regional neighbours and beyond? What will they be making of all this?
Well, again, you know, a threat against Maria Corina Machado and detaining her and arresting her was considered sort of a red line for pretty much everyone. So we'll have to wait for the statements. But unfortunately, I've been in this, you know, in this game or in this scenario of Venezuelan opposition for democracy for 20 years. And the best we ever get really is, you know, sternly worded statements. Tomorrow is the day of the inauguration of the new president. Maduro will reinstate himself, and Edmundo González was supposed to go back and be sworn in sort of a rival presidency. And he actually won 2/3 of the vote. But can he take the presidential palace? Well, no, not as the security situation stands. So they were setting up for having two rival swearing-ins, and presumably the taking or the detainment of Maria Corina Machado is set to alarm and further dissuade the movement of Edmundo González, who ran essentially as MCM's proxy.
OK, we'll leave it there. Vanessa Newman, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.